Reddit, what's the most insensitive thing your parents have ever done/said to you? During a rather stressful moment in her life, my mom told me that I needed to watch my ass and keep my bags packed because if I ever came between her and my stepdad that I would be shit out of luck. I think I was around 11 or 12 then. She soon started this trend of taking out on me all of her frustrations by telling me what was wrong with me. This was a year or two after my biological father told her he really had no desire to continue any kind of visitation. I grew up as a guest in my own home, always ready to leave or get kicked out, not sure where I would go. I hope it is no mystery to her that my emotional connection to my family is casual at best. That experience has influenced me to not have children of my own, but to adopt. I look forward to giving a young person a safe place and forever home. I think I can do a better job of that than my parents. I was in a similar situation. One night, when I was about the same age, my blackout drunk father started choking me and told me I love you because you're my son, but I hate you for who you are. He then told me that from here on out any more mess-ups just might get me kicked out of the house. For 6 or 7 years I lived in fear that the roof over my head was temporary. I kept minimal possessions, saved money, kept a bug-out bag and cached camping gear in several locations in the woods near school. I did everything I could to be prepared for what I assumed was an foregone conclusion. 3 days after I turned 18, I bought a Volkswagen van with my first bank loan and moved out. I spent the rest of my senior year living in that van and was happy for the first time in my life. One of my friends held a friend of his while he died, after he had been hit by a car. My friend's mom, upon learning of this, then proceeded to say that'll teach you kids to do your drugs and stuff. You deserve this. This accident happened at work, no drugs were involved. Our friend was in shock, and almost lost it when his mom said this. When I was 16 I was diagnosed with cholinergic urticaria, which basically translates to skin hives. The doctors couldn't fix it or give me any idea when if it would go away. I didn't go out of the house or to school for a year because if I got too hot or nervous my body would break out in hives and it would burn and itch like I was on fire. For the longest time my parents thought I was overreacting. And then eventually my parents were so stressed about my situation that they divorced. My mom blamed it on me. I have cystic fibrosis pretty severely, and when I was young, 8 or 9 years old, my dad told me that he wouldn't acknowledge my disease until he buried me in the ground. I don't tell him when I go to the hospital anymore. On a related note, my sister told me that all anyone in the family expects from me is to die. This was when I asked her if I should go to college. We were in the car going home. Out of the blue, Mom blurted out, "Shaken sunshine, you're not pretty, you know? So you better work harder and study harder. Otherwise, how are you going to accomplish anything?" A neighbor molested me and a couple other girls in the neighborhood. It went on for a long time, and I didn't realize other girls were involved until one girl's parents came over and had a meeting with my parents. When they left, my parents said I wasn't to go near that part of the street, but they couldn't tell me why. I told them I already knew why, and told them what had been happening. In the midst of all the embarrassing police questions and doctor visits, my mom told me, "I really hope you're not lying, because I'm losing one of my closest friends because of you." Well, I'm ADD and my mom thinks it's hilarious to call me retarded in front of her friends. I've got depression and my mother thinks that calling me mental is hilarious. If I bring it up she gets angry about me being offended. When I was 14 I was really into Van Halen. So were my friends. We would get together and put on air guitar shows in my living room all the time. They were absolutely our favorite band. Our local radio station was having a contest where the 51st caller, or something like that, would win 4 tickets to the concert they were playing in nearby Austin, Texas. After calling I actually won the tickets. Me and my friends freaked out and were so happy. When my mom found out I won the tickets she went down to the radio station and picked them up. She then told me I couldn't go and instead took her friends. I am now 39 and this still bothers me today. I had a long-term hospital stay where I ended up losing 10 to 15 pounds. When I finally got home, I was around 105 to 110. My father refused to buy any food for me because I looked so good. Why would I ruin it? I suppose this isn't really terrible, but it hurt at the time. Either how, I went shopping with my mother, around age 13, during a punk phase, brightly dyed hair, sloppy eyeliner, the usual. She makes eye contact with a colleague from her current job and as the woman walks towards us, my mother grabbed the back of my head and shoved me into the center of a circular rack of clothes so her coworker wouldn't see me. When I was in junior high, I wanted to go out for the gymnastics team. I'm short, I'm muscular, I've always loved tumbling, I have damn good balance, I'm, okay was, both my knees are now messed up, graceful, and I've always loved watching gymnastics on TV. I get home after the first team meeting where we're given the dates of the upcoming meets, the paperwork for our doc's signature, required for any school athletic team, and our parental permission slips. I tell my mom I have to have it all in by the end of the next week. The first words out of mom's mouth are, "So are you doing this so you can lose weight?" That just proved to me my mom had no understanding of what I like to do, and that seeing me go out for sports wasn't nearly as important as the number on the bathroom scale. I came home crying one day in the 3rd grade after being called fat for the first time and asked my mom if I was. Her response, "You're fine, but if you lost 10 pounds you'd be really pretty." I was promptly put on a series of fad diets. Fast forward past several years of passive-aggressive comments/criticism/fad diets, my school contacted my parents concerned I was bulimic. Mom's response, "Why would you do that? If you want to lose weight, just stop eating like your sister. Sister has anorexic tendencies. You're just wasting money. Why don't you buy a pair of jeans 2 sizes smaller than you are now and just hang them near the refrigerator instead?" Later on, she mentioned, "If I could just put your face on your sister's body, I'd have one perfect daughter." The kicker, mom's a nurse. But this is the same woman who, on the day of my graduation from a respectable university with a dual BA degree, said, "Now you can get to work on a degree that's actually worth something." Best gem of advice: don't make the same mistakes I made, don't get married and never have kids. Still hear that one at least once a month. But I get my revenge once a year with a passive-aggressive Mother's Day card. I changed my major from chemical engineering to journalism, for multiple reasons. Mainly, I love writing more than anything and I couldn't see myself being happy as an engineer. My mom told me to suck it up and switch back because, and I quote, "being an adult isn't about being happy." She also though I had severe mental problems for wanting to be happy in life and that someone was forcing me to do this, because she didn't think my wanting to be happy on my own was physically possible. Fortunately, my mom is great. My dad's mom, less so. My dad was a consultant pediatrician, GP, ex-Royal Marine. Married a fine woman, raised 4 kids to do the right thing, worked 14 to 24-hour days and nights to make sick children healthy and was a pillar of the community. People named their kids after him. They even named their kids after me because I was his kid. The stress nearly broke him several times, but he did good. He's with his mom, sitting on the wall at the end of the 2-acre garden he's worked for, his kids playing as the sun sets over the trees, and she turns to him and says, "You're such a disappointment to me." He asks why, baffled. She says, "I wanted to tell my friends that my son was a brain surgeon." My sister didn't want me to come to her 13th birthday party because I was a vegetarian. Mom and Dad agreed, so they all went out for burgers. The night before my wedding, my wife's parents called her a selfish ingrate and that she ruined the wedding for them. Her mother refused to see her get dressed and then they both wouldn't talk to us at the wedding. This stemmed from the offering to pay for the wedding and then refusing to do any planning until a month before the wedding. We ended up paying for several parts of it, but instead of listening to what we wanted, they went overboard and spent stupid money. For example, $600 on decorative tulle. They still have 2 very large cases of it left over. My family was going to cook all the food, but they had to have a caterer. I had a DJ and I was covering the costs, they had to have theirs. $5,000 was our max budget we wanted them to spend. They claimed to have spent $12,000. At least they did all over Facebook. But they also blew up the photographer's Facebook page screaming about the $2,000 they spent when I booked the photographer, and it was $1,100. For reference, my in-laws are not rich but they are well off. They own their house outright, make nearly $200K a year, have multiple vehicles, a small boat, and her stepdad owns a small plane. At the rehearsal, her mother was being an outrageous bitch to the point the photographer called her out. All my wife asked her was to stop complaining about how hot it was. My mom made fun of me for being fat when I was a kid. She used a lot of nonsensical ways to bring it up, too. One time we were loading up the car and I forgot something and she said, "I bet you wouldn't have forgotten it if it were French fries." She also used to force herself to throw up after eating and didn't try to hide it. She'd calmly sit on the ground next to the toilet while the door was open and I could see. I guess to teach me about the lengths you should go to stay thin? On my 12th birthday she sent me to the store to get balloons for my party. I got the wrong kind. She threw meatballs in my direction while I was sobbing and confused about what I did wrong. When I was 8 or 9, I asked my mother if I was pretty and she said, "You're not classically beautiful, but you're very charming and you have fabulous hair." I was always a really pale, wiry kid with blonde hair and no eyebrows or eyelashes. I also had eczema when I was a kid, so I often has red, flaky patches on my face. Bottom line, I was never a cute kid. As I got older, I learned to wear makeup and used to wear makeup a lot until several years ago when I noticed my little sister, who unfortunately for me looks like Audrey Hepburn, when she's thin. Thank God she's getting fat, doesn't wear makeup. I felt like wearing makeup was an admission that I wasn't as pretty and I knew it, so I stopped wearing makeup. I found that I liked the way I look better without makeup, and now that I'm older and my self-esteem isn't so fragile, I'm very comfortable like this, despite the fact that I've gotten some very negative reactions. I have women tell me I need to wear makeup all the time. That I need to draw on my eyebrows, and do you really think you look good like that? One time a lady at one of my mom's parties got drunk and told me I look like shit and that I need to wear some makeup. The whole party got silent, and when my little sister defended me, she said that's impossible. You can't be related. You have beautiful features. It was about the most humiliating moment of my life. Most recently my mother was visiting and I was out with her and my aunt, who started in on the "why don't you just put on some mascara?" I told her it's because I like the way I look without it. It sets me apart from the crowd, and when I wear makeup I look like any other generic looking girl who is kind of pretty but not a movie star. Bottom line, I'm not going to be a movie star no matter how much makeup I wear. So why not just embrace what natural beauty I have? At least I have originality. She told me I'm not pretty enough to go without makeup, and mother said nothing but bit her lip. Eventually she said, "I see where you're going with the no makeup thing. It's just that, see, your sister has different coloring." The next day I introduced her to my friends and she saw my red-headed friend, my mom is red-headed, and immediately went to her, took her by the shoulders and said, "You are beautiful." My friend was flattered and shocked. My mother has never said anything remotely like that to me before. She would never call me beautiful. In fact, she'd spent the 48 hours previous trying to convince me with my aunt that I need to wear makeup because I have no kind of natural beauty deficit. Maybe it's not the worst thing ever, but it stung. As always, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, show your support. Leave your thoughts and opinions down below.